Welcome to the Rock Fight, where we speak our truth, slay sacred cows, and sometimes agree to disagree. This is an outdoor podcast that aims for the head. I'm Colin, and today, producer Dave and Eoin Comerford and I will be talking about the potential global panic around U.S.-based brands, as well as listener feedback to what we had to say here on the Rock Fight last week. But before we get to that, come back to the Rock Fight this Wednesday to hear Justin Hausman and I talk about some of the latest stories that come out of the outdoor adventure community. Also come back to the show on Friday for what will no doubt be another episode of The Rock Fight. And lastly, it's time for you to subscribe to both The Rock Fight and also to Open Container, the newest Rock Fight podcast that is hosted by outdoor industry legend Doug Schnitzbahn. All you need to do is tap that little follow button on whatever podcast app you're listening to right now, then look up Open Container, do the same thing there. And that's it. And now you helped us out. Thank you so much. So stick around. We'll be right back.
Welcome to the Rock Fight, Rock Fight, Rock Fight.
All right, folks, let's talk about a game changer, literally. If you're a brand or a retailer in the outdoor industry, think of Endeavor like the ultimate power-up for your sales game. This platform is designed to level up retail associates, giving them the XP they need to master your gear, sell more, and rack up rewards along the way. It's like a cheat code for better sales, making sure your products don't just sit on the shelves but actually move. Why is this valuable? Well, trained and motivated staff sell way more gear. Brands using Endeavor, like K2 Sports and Smith Optics, have seen better sell-through, stronger brand engagement, and real data insights on what works. And here's where Endeavor gets really interesting. It's gamified. That means learning about products and earning incentives feels fun and not like homework. But there's also a couple of other power-ups you'll want to consider. First is their partnership with Locally, so online shoppers can instantly find a knowledgeable staffer in a nearby store ready to seal the deal. Second is an option known as Freemium, where you can launch brand assets, push newsfeed posts, and coordinate rep clinics. And with Endeavor's pay-as-you-go plans, you can take sales contests, education campaigns, or collect staff insights collection programs all out for a test drive. The bottom line, if your retail game is feeling like it's stuck in easy mode, Endeavor is the upgrade you need to unlock next-level sales, max out your team's knowledge, and beat the boss when it comes to customer experience. Head to Endeavor, that's endvr.io, to learn more today. You're listening to Rock Fight Radio. Oh, you got DJ CT back with you spinning the hits, and it's that time because we have another new song from that hit machine, Fitz. And Fitz wants to ask you, why just settle for a smart sock when you can opt for a smarter sock?
You've got a million choices lying on the floor. Thin ones, thick ones, even some you never wore. But there's a sock whose specs rise above the rest. Don't settle for a smart one when the smarter sock is best. Opt for the smarter sock. Fitz. Fitz is the smarter sock. Fitz. Whole foot comfort is the answer to the question of the knit. Fitz. Opt for the smarter sock. Fitz. Whole foot comfort is the goal. It's only common sense with 4 different patents. The difference is immense. The Y line's added volume really is legit to the next level. Comfort of the fit we call Fitz. Opt for the smarter sock. Fitz. Fitz is the smarter sock. Fitz. Whole foot comfort is the answer to the question of the knit. Fitz. Opt for the smarter sock. Fitz. The smarter sock. Fitz. Fitz is the smarter sock. Fitz. Whole foot comfort is the answer to the question of the knit. Fitz. Opt for the smarter sock. Fitz.
And now, back to the show. All right, I'm here with producer Dave and consigliere to the Rock Fight, outdoor industry insider, Eoin Comerford, who is very sad right now because he's eating a large plate of crow because I sent him a video showing that in actuality, the Hoka Speed Loafer is real. And not the hope that the dream is dead, Eoin. You thought it was going to...
I thought they were still going to come out and say, no. There was actually none of them that were for sale. I'm a little bitter. They look even worse in public, though.
They're so bad.
Oh my god! Because the rocking motion of the sole is so
it doesn't work.
Stupid. Oh my gosh!
It looks like a prank. It looks like someone ripped 2 shoes apart, glued them together as a joke. But no, not good. And we're only, I think 3 days. Oh, no, tomorrow, by the time this airs, will be April Fool's Day. Yeah. So it's a shame.
It really
The
is
dream's
because it
dead.
would have been amazing. But like the fact that did you actually watch the whole thing? Like the reflective.
I didn't watch the whole
Oh
thing.
yeah, I mean this guy
The
went
guy was
deep.
taking it way too
Yeah,
seriously
and
for what it
the
was.
suede around there. Oh my God! Wow. I mean, they definitely put in the time. My biggest beef though was that the speed tassel didn't really actually cinch up
It
the
didn't
shoe.
speed. The
No,
tassel didn't speed.
no.
Gabe, are
So
you wearing yours right now? You got yours on?
I do not, but I will. I will tell you right now. The speed loafer on StockX is going for $390.
Fuck off.
So it is actually increased. I even see a sale for $476. So
Wow.
the sneaker collectors are possibly they're seeing a discontinued item in the future. So they're going for the last remaining items. But I hate to tell you, it is up. It is trending up.
This supports our last week's episode though on like innovation and thinking differently
Exactly.
and
Exactly.
product drops and everything. Like
Yep.
there's the
Yeah.
dumbest thing you could imagine.
They are doing
and
it.
it's
Yeah.
God damn
They
it.
are
Well, good
doing
on
it.
you, Hoka.
There you go. Colin, I just put a bid in for you right now in your name for
Did you get my Christmas present early?
$425. We'll see if they take it.
Only in men's size 6.
Okay.
That's right. That's right.
Mark the date. March 31st, 2025. Peak Hoka. Okay.
This is it. It's all
Right?
downhill from here.
It's all down. Oy.
And then came along the speed loafer.
That's so funny. There you go. There you go.
That ominous
So,
music plays.
That's right. The market has spoken.
All right, today's opening shot is presented by Garage Grown Gear, your hub for ultralight gear. Learn more by heading to garagegrowngear.com. And last week, Owen, on LinkedIn, you put up a post about something that you discovered on the outdoor brand focused Buy from EU subreddit that was encouraging Europeans to buy locally in order to avoid US-based outdoor brands. There's a bit of a response, to your thread, and also this was a response to some of the turmoil that's been coming out of Washington D.C. over the last few months. Let's just start with the idea itself, though, that U.S. brands could be put in a bad position if a larger boycott of consumers outside the U.S. actually takes hold. Is that something that could actually take hold?
I think the answer is yes. But the question is, how big of an impact would it be? For most US-based brands, their European business is anywhere from as low as 10% or 0% in some cases, but kind of in that 10 to 15% range, and then some are upwards of 35 to 40% because obviously it is the big market. VF Corp, for example, about 33%, about a third of their business is in Europe. So yeah, but even if it's a 10% hit, that's a 3% hit to the top line. So I don't think it's going to absolutely slay the outdoor brands. And typically, boycotts tend to fizzle over time. Now, I do feel though that the intensity of the feelings that people have and the degree to which it isn't just one small subsegment of these populations are feeling this. I mean, in Canada, you're definitely feeling it as well. So
Yeah.
I do think it'll hurt. Is it going to be like a 10, 20% down in total? Probably not, but I think that there will be an impact.
It does seem like this is one of those, I don't know, these are passion project purchases, right? So is someone really not going to buy like a Black Diamond backpack because they're like, oh, that's a U.S. brand? Like, how much would the U.S. have to become a global villain that someone would say, like, no, I'm not going to buy that backpacking brand at the local shop? I'm not sure if that's how most consumers approach these things. Dave, you want to jump in?
I disagree. I think we're already there. Right, especially in Europe,
Doomsday Dave has arrived.
Right. Well, what Owen was talking about, the brands that are really in danger of this are the biggest international. I mean, North Face, Patagonia. That's who we're talking about here. VF, right? I mean, they're the ones that have a sizable piece. And is there a movement building to not buy that pack versus another? You bet there is, and there's plenty of options. It's not
that's true.
It's not like there's no other way to get it. There's just so many local regional brands that make good packs, that make good outerwear, that make good lifestyle. I mean, it's so much more of a mainstream entity there. It could actually end up as a lot of these ill-thought boycotts or tariffs do create shelf space or opportunity for these brands that they're not going to give up when this goes over, hopefully goes over, and we come back to some kind of normalcy. I mean, that's the thing. Once it recedes, it's hard to get back. So I do think that there is a cost to it, and it just might be targeted and not so widespread, but it's certainly going to be a part of our, it's certainly unraveling our close relationship. That's for sure.
Is this an opportunity for like the Miets of the world who like announced an entry into the U.S. to pull back? Be like, actually, second thought, we're out.
That's a good question, Owen.
Yeah, I don't feel like, oddly, that there is the same reaction the other way, right?
Yeah, right.
I don't feel like there's, if anything, I think there are some U.S. customers that will want to support Europeans based
The
upon
European brands, sure.
Now, the one thing I would say too about the U.S. outdoor brands is I think a number of them aren't necessarily very tightly linked to the U.S. in the mind of the European consumer. Like, does the average European consumer know that Black Diamond is U.S. based? Maybe, maybe not. They definitely know that North Face is. They know that Levi's is, or Jack Daniels, right? So there are some brands that and then there are the brands like Patagonia, where yes, obviously, I think everybody would know that they're a U.S. brand, but they get a pass because they also they're clearly not in support of the current administration and are actively talking out against them.
Said so.
So, I think it'll vary. It'll vary quite a bit. I think the more US-y you are, if that's a new adjective, maybe the worse it's going to be for you.
We call that MAGA.
Right. Well, yeah. Well, going from that, like we said, this kind of started just kind of bubbling up in social media, but it has metastasized into an actual kind of a bigger, more concentrated effort. BuyEurope.com has sprouted up, and it's run by volunteers right now. They get about 20,000 visitors a day, 1,200 brands listed, but it's specifically there to create alternatives to American brands, and it cites the brands that they're competing with, and you can shop by category. Like athletic wear or smartphones or any kind of consumer good, fashion, and of course outdoor and athletic are grouped together there. And it's just now just a nice catalog listing of all of these brands and what they do and the American equivalents that they compete with, and allow you to go to their website and check it out. I mean, they even have browser extensions that allow you to plug into your browser so that when you're looking on your search engines, you can immediately find the European equivalent of what you're looking at.
Wow.
Right. And so that's a pretty powerful tool that's being done on a shoe screen. But that's the kind of stuff, like you said, there's a passion behind it and an anger. And I think that's what you're going to, anger breeds some great innovation. So as these tools become more ingrained in people's lives, that's what I mean. It's going to create some stickiness in their behavior that's going to be hard to undo. And
I think this is an opportunity for another, like, don't buy this jacket moment. U.S. brands almost get behind it in a way. Like, don't say don't buy our stuff, but to kind of like, this is a way to kind of draw a line in the sand and be like, and just shine a light on, hey, this is what's happening in other places, right? Because of the pressure that our presidential administration is putting on the marketplace here in the United States. Not okay. Like, what do we do about this?
Right.
Yeah. And well, I wonder also, will some brands like Patagonia try to go at this head on in the European markets and in other markets to say, hey, listen, we don't support what's going on. So if you do want to see change, support us, because we're addressing things like the attack on public lands, sustainability, attack on climate change, all of those issues, and really come at it full force. What they can't do is, you can't be different things, different messages in different areas of the world, right? You can't pick a North American brand. You can't be like, we're not saying anything in the US because we're afraid of repercussions, but in international markets we're saying, oh, it's a different deal. That won't work, because that'll come back and kind of bite them in the ass here in the home market, I would say.
I think ultimately this is going to come down to what the administration continues to do, right? To your point, these things tend to fizzle, kind of what I was saying, like, oh, I'm not going to get the Chick-fil-A sandwich because I don't agree with things. And then it's 6 months later and I've kind of forgotten about that, and you're hungry and there's a Chick-fil-A. If this kind of pace continues of just call it bad news coming out of the White House, the chance of this really getting some traction and maybe doing some damage becomes more likely.
Yeah,
Right.
and this is everyday headline news in Europe, right? I mean, what's happening?
Yeah.
I mean,
They're way more in tune.
even the text thing that got out there from from our defense secretary and our VP in there. There's a lot of sort of anti-European sentiment about like, these guys are basically
Yeah.
just, freeloaders, and we shouldn't do this, and whatever. um that stuff is that's headline news in Europe, that the VP of the United States is basically calling Europe freeloaders. Now, I guess that's nothing that Trump hasn't actually said out loud, but it does continue to undermine that overall relationship.
When you guys get the text with the nuclear codes, probably like later this afternoon, are you going to do anything with that? You going to sell it? Maybe take out a small nation? What are you thinking?
Yeah, it depends.
I'm reporting it as spam. What are you talking about?
This can't be real.
And
oh no, it can. It can
blocked.
be actually.
Right.
Oh, and I mean, I talked about things that metastasize. I would say your post on LinkedIn metastasized. Any takeaways from the comment? I just looked at it before we hopped on, and man, there were about 32 different conversations. Some of them pretty far away from your original post.
No, it got pretty heated. I mean, obviously, that there are political undertones in the overall post, as you'd imagine,
and overtones,
but people went down all kinds of rabbit holes around. There are no. My favorite one was, there are no substitutes for these brands in Europe. I'm like, hello?
Yeah.
Excuse me. There are some amazing European brands, but then the other there was some MAGA waving there about the Europeans need to pay their fair share and all that kind of stuff. There was a lot of back and forth on boycotts never work, or no, this is a disaster. It was all over the place.
Yeah, like my favorite was there was travel got brought into it, and how you couldn't. It's just as simple to travel today. Nothing bad will happen to you as it was 3 or 4 months ago.
And every one of those, again, and back to the headline news. Every one of those headline news in those countries where those where people are, right. And are they one-off situations that 99.9% of international travelers won't experience? Probably, but right now they're news, and they're
I think it happening once is not great. Can we just maybe that's
yeah.
But
I mean, my favorite one there was that not favorite, but the one that I found most notable was
this is my favorite awful thing.
Awful thing that happened this week. Oh God. But the one that really sort of resonated was actually a Canadian actress. She was in one of the American Pie movies, so I'm sure you know who it is, Colin. But she was on her way, I think.
That says about your opinion of me, but okay.
He thinks you're younger than you are.
There you go. But she so she was detained though. So there was something with her visa, whatever. So she was like, "Oh, okay, I'll just go back." I'm like, no, we're going to detain you, and they detained her for 12 days. Moved her between multiple detention centers, and she's a person of means. She has lawyers. She actually had political people reaching out, and it took 12 days to get her out. And it was major news furor in Canada. My favorite, again, maybe not favorite, just the wrong word, part though was when they went to the White House press secretary about this. Her answer was, I'm paraphrasing, her answer was, well, Canadians won't have to worry about those issues when Canada becomes a 51st state.
Yeah.
She knows her script. She studied her lines, maybe unlike the Canadian actress.
Yeah, so talk about just absolutely pouring fuel on the fire.
Wow.
Right? I mean,
that's how they do. Well,
I'm pretty sure Dave's doing this episode from the basement at Guantanamo Bay. So that's
right. Jasmine Mooney, by the way, is the actress. Well, I was just going to say, circling back, it is for every crisis there is an opportunity, and like you said, European brands are going to be getting looked at, and just even in the research that I did with the BuyEurope.com, there's there's a few that I want to give shouts out to. I mean, because look, Need for Trees is a Lithuanian hammock company. They're the first Lithuanian hammock company, and I would have never known about them if I didn't track this website.
Right,
And,
Need for Trees.
Right, and
Reach out for advertising opportunities here on the Rock Fight.
Right,
you know?
and Klattermusen, which is in a long line of Scandinavian outdoor lifestyle. They're refined mountaineering equipment.
Well, that's more like a fiber replacement.
Actually fabulous stuff. Never would have seen them, and their position
we
against
sold them in
Patagonia.
this job.
You did? Okay, well, I like them. They're
Yeah.
fantastic. And then my favorite of the bunch here was from the Sports Nutrition, and I thought, wow, I think this American brand got somehow made it through the net of the boycott. Jim Beam, and it's not the whiskey.
What?
It's Jim GYM Beam. It's a German Slovakian sports nutrition brand.
That's an amazing coincidence or a
It is
stroke of brilliant
fantastic.
branding.
So I'm giving them a shout out just for the audacity to take that on, and the play on English language is just a chef kiss. So
Somewhere there's a drunk
Nicely
ultra
done.
runner who thinks that they read online that this would be the food or drink they should use.
Maybe they're doing single malt sports bars or mash gummies. I could see. But,
Mash gummy, that's a good idea.
That's so fantastic. So anyway,
Oh my
would have
God.
never have seen them if it wasn't for the buyeurope.com. So thank you.
Well, and maybe a stroke of good news, or maybe working against of some of the general trends we're seeing in the outdoor economy. Academy this week said they're going to open up to 25 new locations this year. What do you think's going on at Academy, Owen? That they're actually maybe bucking the trend, or is that just they're sticking to their plans regardless? What's happening at Academy?
I wish I could say that it was all amazingly wonderful news, but
25 new doors. How could that be bad?
right. I'm like the Grim Reaper here. But what I would say is,
We're just reporting the news. We're not making it.
Okay. So, it's great that they are opening doors. But let's just start with that. But I would tell you that is a slowdown from their original plan. They were going to open, I think, 30 to 35 stores this year. So it's a bit of a slowdown. Yeah. Also, I feel like the part of the reason is that their newer doors are not doing maybe as well as they had hoped. They do about, I think, 14 million a year is what they said in their Q3 earnings call, which sounds like a lot. But these are big stores. They're 70,000 square feet, bigger than a Dick's Sporting Goods.
Yeah,
so
a
it's
lot of inventory.
A lot of inventory. So there's that equates to about $200 a square foot, which is well below their average. So
what would they be looking for, Owen? What would a store like have that size be looking for a square footage?
Closer to probably $250 a square foot would be a better number for them. So yeah, I think they are taking a little bit slower, and I mean, Academy in general has had a bit of a tough time over the last couple of years. They saw the big boom that everyone else did in sort of 21-ish to 22, but the last couple of years they've been down in sort of the mid single digits pretty much every quarter. So that's on a comp store basis, but then they're trying to offset that with adding stores. So yeah, I think it's an interesting play. The other piece that's interesting is that they are their big excitement is that they're launching Nike in their stores. Now they already had Nike, but this is like a major increase in the Nike presence. It's the biggest launch in their history, which I think says as much about Nike as it does about anything else, that Nike really wants to get some more wholesale business because I mean, Academy, great merchants, they know their business, very well run stores, but they're not the high end experience that you would have in a Dick's Sporting Goods, right? It's much closer to like a Walmart type of experience. It's rows and rows and rows of gondola shelving with, like if you've got shoes, it's all self-serve, like there's the shoe and here are all the sizes underneath it, right? But the impression that I got from that call is actually they may be going more shop and shop, which would be them really taking a page out of Dick's Sporting Goods book and trying to build a much more elevated experience around Nike specifically in those stores, where it's not just another brand and just one more shoe on a shelf, that they're really leaning into a whole experience. So it'll be interesting to see where that goes, and whether they try to follow some of the success that Dick's has seen with that elevated approach.
I'm trying to picture a Academy shop and shop, and I'm having a tough time thinking of nice things to say. I think that's going to be rough. Well, it'd be interesting though. I mean, and also what's it say about Nike, where we know that they were publicly like a lot of conversation around back into specialty and everything like that. And I know this is wholesale, but it's but maybe this is just step one for them, kind of like they're stepping downwards. A large retailer, kind of a big relationship, and then they kind of
sidestepping. This is a utilitarian retail approach. Okay, this is you got to get in there for yourself. It's like preppers for footwear. Like you got to get in there, you got to stake your claim. I like it. I think it goes with the zeitgeist.
It could look really cool. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. Last thing in the news column, Lululemon reported, it came out yesterday, saw it on SGB, that they had double-digit growth in Q4, driven mostly by international sales. What are we making from this? Because, I mean, Lululemon, not an North American brand, so I'm not really going to tie that back to their initial... Well, they are a North American brand, not a U.S. brand. We're not going to tie that back to the first story, but seems like, again, maybe bucking trend. This is Q4. How's the first quarter going to impact things? There's kind of a lot sort of buried in that headline, I feel like.
Yeah. So I think the key thing is that it was driven by international sales, right? Because actually, if you look at comp store sales, North America was flat compared to the prior year. Which in the current environment, flat maybe is the new up. I don't know, but the reality is that if you go back a few years, Lulu was growing at 15, 20, 25% a quarter, every quarter. I mean, it was just a juggernaut. Yeah. And so they've really, I think, hit a level of saturation within the US market where moving dramatically bigger here is a little tougher. So I think they're going to be looking for new growth factors, and obviously international is the main one right now for them, where they can take what's really working here in the US and move it elsewhere. It was interesting to see also that their gross margins were expanding. So again, that's a little bit part of the saturation where you're saying, hey, listen, we don't want to push sales. We're really harvesting a little bit of that demand that we have. I think the other thing that jumped out at me from these results was that they have $2 billion in cash. It's like, woof. So
Jesus.
Yeah. Right. So is that going to be?
We were just talking about the other day. Oh, we were talking about on the Steel podcast about how Columbia's, they're great. They got $500 million in cash. Meanwhile, Lulu's like $2 billion. Cool. $2 billion.
$2 billion.
Apple says, hold my beer.
Yeah, that's right.
Right. So, it's funny that they're not returning that to their shareholders, but is that, let's use that as our war chest to fund that international expansion? Probably, I guess. Or is there an acquisition on the horizon? Hard to say.
Who would they buy?
Steel, obviously.
That's what I was thinking. Yeah. See, it's a small pivot for Steel to go from what they're doing now to make Lulu looking clothes, right? They're just a few fewer baffles, some darker colors, and they're there.
There you go.
It's all about the baffles.
Hey, who wants to know what's new at Garage Growing Gear?
Oh, I do.
Oh, so much.
Do you?
Oh, yeah.
Take your cup of coffee on the go with coffee chocolate bars by Koba. I've never had Koba chocolate. Have you guys ever had coffee chocolate bars by Koba? I have not had that.
No.
You can also check out new color blocked fleece hoodies and pants by Sam Bob. The best names are in Garage Growing Gear. Every week, it's another brand that I get excited about. Sam Bob. That's a great name. And take a look at this ultra versatile one-person notch tent by Tarp Tent. That one's okay. It's not as good as Sam Bob. GGG has new ultralight backpacking gear each week. So check out the new page on their site to stay up to date on the latest. Link is in the show notes. Head to garagegrowngear.com. Check them out today to get all the cool names over on Garage Growing Gear. Koba, Sam Bob.
No, I've got to guess. Sam Bob founders Samuel and Robert. I mean, was it that simple?
I kind of hope it isn't. It could be way funnier if it was like Dave and Joe or something.
Right, or the Hindu word for fleece. I mean, something like
maybe,
that.
Maybe
Mm-hmm. Fantastic.
I want to try some Koba though. I love coffee and chocolate, so I'm kind of into both of those things.
And is it GGG? Is that how they refer to themselves?
GGG. I think they kind of it's interchangeable.
Not triple G, right?
You could go triple G.
Triple G Soul.
Triple G?
Yeah.
It's like an action movie.
Right.
It's coming this summer.
Triple G. Yeah, I think it's the new action star. Right? I think
it's G-Man Lloyd Vogel.
G-Man
He
Lloyd
wraps
Vogel.
himself in Dyneema and goes on a tear. That's what happens.
In Triple G, right?
In Triple G.
Oh, I like this. I think this is going.
Minneapolis is a tough town.
Or it's like Guy Fieri's gear shop, because he's got Triple D.
Oh!
Diners, Drive-Ins, and Dives. And so...
Lloyd, we can't keep feeding you these good ideas for free. Okay.
Right.
All right. We're going to have to charge you for this one. If you get the collab going with Guy Fieri, we want credit. We want a rock fight shop, merch shop in there.
And if you're going to size up to Triple G, we want to be there too.
Triple G. All right, let's dig into some listener feedback as presented by Obos, who loves hiking and wants us all to talk more about hiking. It's the activity that we all do, but no one talks about. And we're going to count the ways we love hiking in a minute. But first, we're going to turn now something I posted on LinkedIn last week, which was a post about last Monday's episode of The Rock Fight, where Owen, Dave, and I made some broader innovation recommendations for the outdoor industry. That post got 50 comments, so not quite a full Comerford, but not bad. Mm-hmm. All right, it was pretty good for me.
Good, yeah.
Thanks, buddy. Yeah. I was pretty proud of myself. I'm like, it's like double A level if you're the majors, Wasn't 130. So one of the more active comment threads was started by a gentleman named Patrick, who wrote, I've got one for you. Let's innovate how we message climate impact to consumers. Allbirds led the way here by listing the CO2 of their products. If it is true that, quote, climate change is the single greatest threat to life outdoors, and, quote, we're in business to save our home planet, so invoking some Patagonia lines there, as some outdoor companies have claimed, then we need to do better. The innovation here would be to take the Allbirds lead and extend CO2e labels to all products, make it an industry standard, have it certified. This type of work would need to be organized by the Outdoor Industry Association, with key players like REI and Patagonia helping to lead the way. I like this one because, one, when I was at Timberland in the early 2000s, we launched a nutrition label to kind of provide transparency into the impact of the products we were making, and that fizzled out after there was not a lot of consumer uptake on that. Rab has launched one in the last couple of years. Tim Fish was on the Rock Fight about a year and a half ago talking about what they're doing to try and do the same thing. I guess my question for you guys is, can brand transparency really lead to consumers being more engaged on more sustainable practices? Is that really something that we feel like if this was a broader initiative and more brands did it, do we feel like it could really change consumer buying habits?
I think so, because it kind of cuts through all of the bullshit, right? If you could really condense it down to a few things, and that's the big if, but if you could condense it down to a few things that A, people could understand, but B, then it would give you a mode of comparison. Because I think, quite frankly, there's so much talk about sustainability within our industry that it just becomes noise. And you're just like, okay, all I know is that Patagonia is really sustainable and everyone else kind of talks about it. So, right. Whereas if you could say, oh, no, the carbon impact of this jacket was blah, 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 and here's X, Y, or Z, versus just, okay, it's recyclable. It's 100% recycled polyester, but what does that mean? And actually, how was it produced? And what were the upstream and downstream impacts? And I think there is stuff out there. There's like the Higg index, and there are definitely things. If you could just put it onto a nutrition label,
like a letter grade.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Just that's the thing too. I think some of these is why I think the Timberland one didn't work, and even if we had everybody to do it, and it's like, well, we released this amount of carbon dioxide for the creation of this pair of shoes. It's like, no, it just gets a B-. For the one over here is an A-. So you decide which one you want. It's got to be something really simple. I feel like if it's gonna work.
I would agree. So,
no, I agree. Again, this has been tried many times, and you've got the third-party validators like BlueSign or Higgs, like you're talking about. All attempting to make a trust mark that people understand what it means. I think the letter grade is probably the simplest way to do that, and it has to come from the brands. They're the ones with the direct relationships with consumers. So if they're not going to do it, it ain't going to happen. And
right,
and it's one of those things that obviously a complete organized approach would be the ideal way to go. That has not happened as of yet, but that doesn't mean that just in the the adage that a trickle of water can carve a pretty deep canyon. They just have to start doing it until where we start to kind of maybe coalesce into some kind of similarities in the way we get to it, and at some point then have some group take control and help create some regularity to it and consistency. But I think right now it's a great way to stand out.
Yeah.
That's just the hard part. We talk a lot about this, obviously, about the brands. Where's the collaboration, which could be another form of innovation, right?
Yeah.
Rebecca wrote, actually, I'd like to see the outdoor industry innovating to create functional performance gear that doesn't use fossil-based textiles, any harmful chemicals, and which has genuinely reliable end-of-life solutions. I mean, that's the dream. But that probably doesn't happen without legislation, more legislation,
maybe,
obviously
I don't know.
collaboration.
Yeah, I don't know if it needs regulation in that same way. I think that's the next great innovation story. Where before the last 70 years has all been about what can your product do and what does it prevent from happening. I think the removal of fossil fuel or petrol based everything is the great challenge of our innovation for the next. I hope, I don't know how long it's going to take, but there's the sustainability as a whole and how we manufacture, and all those things are definitely part of this process. But the one big one is how to remove petroleum from the essentials that build our products.
I think it comes back to the same thing, and where I think the label approach can help is if consumers want to support sustainability with their wallet, how do they know who to support?
Yeah.
Right.
Yes.
Because these technologies will require dollars, they'll require development and investment, et cetera. And so if consumers can say, okay, well, I want to support that, so I'm going to only buy A rated for this, that, or the other thing, then I think that would help. The other thing I would say is while there's a lot that can be done through voluntary things and through associations, et cetera, to me, it's going to take probably somebody like an REI to step up and basically require it. And they're already, I would say, halfway there with their supplier standards, and that they've made big moves here. It's now a matter of, I think, taking that work and saying, okay, these are all the things you need to do to sell at REI, or at least these are the questions you have to be able to answer. And here's then your scorecard. And so when you're on rei.com, when you're in an REI store, you'll be able to actually see what that means. So in other words, when capitalism comes into play, i.e., it's going to impact how much how much open to buy from REI you're going to get in a year. Suddenly, then everybody will get on board, and we'll start to see that level of standardization.
It goes right along with of all companies, Walmart, right? Didn't they change some of their packaging requirements a few years back in terms of its plastic componentry, which really upended the packaging
absolutely
kind of supply chain, right? And a massive impact over some fairly small regulatory changes in their process had a big impact.
The other thing we spoke about last week was on experiential marketing as a form of innovation. And on that part of the conversation, one comment was left by Tyler, who wants to make sure that sales reps get their due when it comes to supporting the roles of their role in supporting retailers. But more interesting than that, I thought one thing Tyler wrote was about retailers themselves. And we touched on it a little bit, but I want to read what he wrote. He said, I cannot tell you as a rep how many times I have created or supported events for retailers, invested personal time, energy, and cost only to show up at a store with fewer than a dozen people there. Usually the retailer does a poor job of marketing the event with like a single Facebook post. I've had brands offer to pay for advertising. Retailers can't execute. I'm not blaming retailers. Many independents don't have a marketing person. Maybe they have a social media person who's usually the youngest person on staff forced into that role, or they don't have the budget. But from a brand and rep perspective, once bitten, twice shy on continuing to try and engage with retailers who aren't or can't create a meaningful event. And I said during our conversation, we talked about how many retailers excel at community engagement, but there's some that just don't do it at all. And I think it's a good summation in Tyler's point that often retailers aren't alone in trying to pull some of these things off. Both their reps and brands will offer resources that they either don't take advantage of or don't know what to do with it. Maybe they don't have the resources to do with it, but they also don't prioritize it as they're kind of planning for the future as well. So I don't know, Owen, did that resonate at all with some of your retail experience?
Totally. Yeah. No, I mean, that's a great point. If you can't get behind it as a retailer to drive the traffic, then it's a waste of everybody's time. What I would say as well, though, is you have to come at it from the consumer's perspective and figure out what your consumers are interested in. Because yeah, there have been times where we've done exactly this. Sure, we would do an event and nobody would show up, or you do an event and it's the same 8 people that show up every week.
Right.
It's just
It's like the fan club that arrives.
It's like, okay, guys, it's great that you're here, but bring a friend.
This
maybe.
cost us $1,000.
Right.
Thanks.
Right. So yeah, if you're going to do it well, and then get the word out. But yeah, I mean, have the gifts with have a gift with purchase, have a raffle, have somebody interesting there to talk. I mean, really make it worthwhile. Make either people are going to learn something or get something right out of this experience. And serve booze. It would be my other advice. Free beer always helps. So yeah, but no, I think that definitely resonated.
Yeah, and I would just go on to, I mean, yeah, it's always demoralizing when you put all that work into it and you think you're going to get a bigger turnout. But I think the game is a smaller, intimate process. Like I said, it is one brick at a time, and so 10 people, a half a dozen, that's the nature of the beast. But you continue to make those connections and you continue to make the impression, and that's how you build loyalists and enthusiasts and, evangelists. So I think it's just kind of a necessary evil that does have to be thought of in a much smaller, more deliberate time frame.
Yeah, I think some of this is apathy winning when some of the folks, hey, we have brands who offer resources, reps offer resources, and someone just being like, who's been in the game maybe a long time and have that like, no, I don't want to.
Yeah.
Like so many things, if you come at it from a self-serving perspective, like, well, let's hold an event to sell more brand X. It just doesn't necessarily work versus, a run store having a run club. That works because it isn't really about the sale. Right. It isn't about that. It's about community. It's about people getting out together.
Right.
It's those things. And if it happens to start and end in the store, and then, people's shoes are running out and they get a new pair of shoes as part of the process, then, that works, right?
Brands tend to want to be product first, experience second. And it's the opposite, right?
Exactly.
Build joy and connection and appreciation of the event or the activity, and the products then follow. No
Let's have an event where people buy things at the place where people buy things.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly.
All right, today's episode of The Rock Fight presented by Oboes, who's helping us ask the question, how do I love hiking? Let me count the ways. Number 1, the magic of trail snacks. Somehow, a peanut butter sandwich tastes Michelin starred at 3,000 feet? I think it's more like 3,000 feet. It can taste good at 3,000 feet.
Well, no, I wouldn't say Michelin. It might be a Yelp 4.5 star at 3,000 feet. At 13,000 feet, it's Michelin starred.
I see. So that's where the elevation comes into this. The quality of the peanut butter goes up the higher in elevation you go.
That's right. The white tablecloth appears above the tree line.
The less oxygen in your brain, the better it tastes.
Number 2. We're going to reconnect with your inner caveman. You walk far, you see things, you feel alive. Did they walk far or just outside the cave?
I wasn't around then, Colin, contrary to
Number 3, epic sunrises you earned. Waking up at 4 a.m. feels worth it. Sometimes. Not all the time.
It depends why.
Sometimes.
It depends why you're waking up at 4 a.m. It would be what I would say.
That's when I'm usually up. Anyways, I can't comment on this. That's about when I wake up anyway. Number 4, hey, for every hike completed over a mile long during the month of April, Oboes will plant a tree as part of its Trails for Trees challenge. For each hike completed, participants will also receive chances to win weekly prizes from Oboes and its challenge partners. Registration is free and open now at trailsfortrees.com. And it's open to walkers, hikers, runners, and people using mobility assistive devices. After registering, participants must track their hikes on a GPS-enabled device. And not only will that hike result in a tree being planted, but for each hike completed, participants will receive an entry to win weekly prizes from Trails for Tree Challenge partners, Free Fly, Jason Mark, Rab, Smartwool, Thule, and of course, Oboes footwear. Number 5, This hiking appreciation moment, guys, is brought to you by Oboes of Bozeman, Montana, maker of the Catabatic collection that includes the Catabatic LT and the Catabatic Wind. Check out the full Catabatic footwear collection at obosfootwear.com today. All right, you guys ready for the parting shot?
It's time for a party shot.
Yeah, I just wanted to say how cool that Trees for Trails thing is.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to do that, actually. I'm going to register for that.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, so today's the last day of Q1 2025, so I thought let's take a second. It's been a busy quarter, so let's revisit some of the topics we've discussed over the past 3 months of 2025 here on the Rock Fight. See if anybody has some follow-up thoughts. So we kicked off the year on January 6th really kicked off the year with our top 5 footwear brands. Maybe our most infamous episode, would we say, of the Rock Fight? Any love for Salomon? Do we not mention Salomon right now? We never mention that brand again.
I don't know what you're talking about, Colin.
On January 13th, Owen, you and I broke the news about Rumple's management shakeup. And then on the 22nd, we had our emergency reaction to REI's new CEO, Mary Beth. We've not yet been able to secure Mary Beth on the Rock Fight. We got to keep working on that one.
Yeah, she and I we've exchanged some messages on LinkedIn, but I don't know. I guess she's busy or something. But yeah,
yeah, right.
We'll get her. We'll get her on. It'll be good.
Fun. You get to meet producer Dave. I mean, come on.
Everyone loves producer Dave.
She's got things to do.
February 3rd, we've alluded to this already in this episode. It's where we talked about the Hoka Speed Loafer, the worst day of Owen's life.
That son of a bitch.
Fuck you, Hoka. Nobody clip that soundbite and play it, please. And then February 10th, we were back with our top 5 gear brands. Any thought memories from the top 5 gear brands, guys? What stands out from that episode?
I think we got that one right. From
that one was pretty good.
From what I remember. Yeah. Yeah. Well, can you remember them is now the question.
Okay, we got
Black Diamond.
Nemo,
Black Diamond. And
Xped.
Oh, you're right. Xped did make it. MSR.
Nemo, Black Diamond, Xped. MSR.
And
I want to say Sea to Summit, but that was accessories.
No, that didn't make it.
People are going to get so mad at us. We're going to get so mad.
Really, we should probably know these things.
Oh my God. What was it? Oh, Osprey.
Oh, okay.
Oh, man, I thought we were going to end the episode with
oh my God. That would have been ugly. Okay.
February 17th, we had our first of several authentic brands conversations. And March 3rd, we asked if Sierra could take down REI. And then on March 10th, kind of our last, I didn't want to go too much deeper into March because we're ending March, but we had our top 5 accessories, which actually we've gotten a lot of hate mail, maybe more than the Salomon thing, about how dare we include Smartwool over Darn Tough on the top 5 accessories. To which I say, yeah, I hear you. Apparently, the insiders like Darn Tough.
I like Darn Tough.
Is like
Darn Tough makes a hell of a sock. I think it was more around the fact that Smartwool provides just a broader breadth of items within our fictional store. But you can't go wrong with either of those two, quite frankly.
I think we will do this exercise again, and the rules will be a little different. It'll be like if we're building new brands only, or there'll be it won't just be the big guys. Don't worry, guys. We're not done with top 5
brands with patented technology that are distinctly different from everybody else. That might be an interesting way to look at socks. I'm just saying.
Like not thinking of any brand in particular.
Brands with a key musical ear, the ability to deliver earworms to audiences. Yeah, but it's all about that custom fit feel. I'll tell you.
Okay.
That's the Jesus Christ. Do you work with a sock brand?
Dave? I do work
Is that
with
what
a sock brand.
Who do you work with? Do you want to reveal it here on the show who you're working with?
I do not.
Do they make funny songs?
No, they do. They make hilariously funny songs. And they make an incredibly great fitting sock.
The songs fit or the socks fit?
Yes, Colin. Yes, that's right.
I said that. I added an S at the end. Last thoughts on Q1 2025?
It's been fun, guys. I mean, this is my first full quarter with the team, and I'm having a blast.
Yeah, we also launched Open Containers. So, it was a busy first quarter.
Yeah, absolutely.
The Rock Fight's a production of Rock Fight LLC. Our producer today is producer David. He works for the sock brand Karstad. Art direction provided by Sarah Gensert. For Eoin Comerford, I'm Colin True. Thanks for listening. And Krista makes his back once again to sing the Rock Fight Fight song. We'll see you next time, Rock Fighters.
Rock fight.